Hey guys, my name is Gaurav Harish. I'm a music producer from London. I've worked on a few records before. I've got an iTunes #1 as well. I like to make trap, hip hop, UK drill as well, R&B, chill trap. I love making urban music and I love making music overall. So today I'm going to be taking a melody loop that I got from Loop Cloud. I'm going to be adding some drums on top, some vocal chops, and just making it into a banging beat. That's what I'm going to say, a banging beat. So guys, let's just get straight into it. My name's Gaurav and I'm going to show you guys how to make a beat. So guys, welcome. I'm going to be starting off today with my melody loop, and this is basically created on Loop Cloud. And Loop Cloud is a great way of kind of creating loops or getting loops and basically placing your timeline and creating projects around that loop. I also like to make them on my MPC because I'm a huge MPC fan. Wish I had an MPC 2000, but luckily I've got grooves and I've got templates in here that can make my swing of my drums sound like MPC. So guys, let's just crack straight on. I'm going to open up my workspace, and in my workspace I've actually got a sound library called Gaurav Samples and Kits. If I double click that, I can actually audition the sounds that are sitting in there. So click spacebar and it plays that sound. You can audition all the sounds you want and then drag it straight into your timeline. So that's what I'm going to do. Drag this into my timeline, close that down, and now I've got it there, right? So what I want to do now is I want to get my location markers and just mark it around that specific loop there. As you see, it doesn't loop straight away. So what I need to do is I need to go up to my play icon just over here, press Control and click, and then the loop playback icon just appears. Or what you could do is right click and you'll have the option to loop or not loop as well. Another thing that I want to highlight there, guys, is actually turn on your dynamic transport. This allows me to freely move my play icon in between the locators as well. So when you're making music, you want to select, let's say, bar 16, you could just do that without the locators actually moving. So it's a great way of working as well. So if I just bring it to the start there and just let it loop for a second. Sounds great. But I want to add some space, I want to add some effects to it straight away. So let's open this up and let's add a filter gate plugin on top. And over this, I can actually create patterns with the filter gating going on as well. So I'm going to go for a Tech 1. And I'm going to show you guys what it sounds like, and I'm going to pull the mix down just so it blends in nicely and I get it to the point that I want it to be at. That sounds pretty good to me. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a fuzz wah plugin as well. Turn on the fuzz, pull that down to about 13 dB, and again, play with the mix till it sounds right. That sounds pretty good. So I've already got my loop going now, and I've created some space so I can have some highs popping through and stuff like that. Added some effects on top as well. The next thing that I want to do, and that I really want to emphasize here, is my kick and my snares, and my claps as well, and my hi-hats eventually. But it's just so important to have banging kind of beats going on in this kind of music, especially when you're making trap or hip-hop or kind of, just urban EDM or something. It just sounds absolutely fantastic when the drums are popping, they're piercing through, and kind of when you're listening to big speakers either in a nightclub or kind of like at home, them drums are just popping, they're banging, and the groove is absolutely amazing. It makes you want to dance, right? And that's kind of what I like to do. I like adding great energy, great vibes into my music, so when the person's listening to it, they feel exactly what I was feeling at that present time. So I'm going to go to my kick and snare, and I'm going to open up Falcon. Falcon is very powerful. You can create drum kits on there. You can save them drum kits and pull them out at a later time, which I'm going to show you as well. You've got an oscillator section as well, where you can start kind of manipulating the sounds and your 808s. You can do tune in. You can create layers. There's so much stuff that you can do on Falcon. It's just so powerful, especially with one shots and sounds. Has its own sound library as well. In this instance, I'm going to pull up my existing drum kit. So if I go to the spanner icon just over here, you'll see that I've got a recent program section with Gaurav Kit. And the way that I got to save that is I went to save program and samples. So it saved all the samples I placed already into that drum kit. So recent programs, Gaurav Kit, and here we go. If I just close down my Falcon over here and just press record. And what forgot to do was turn on my MIDI merge. So guys, it's very important to actually turn on your MIDI merge if you don't want your information, your MIDI information, to be overwritten by kind of new MIDI information. You want it to merge together so you can create patterns and create drum kits, and just kind of have a loop of drums without kind of stopping and having to restart and stuff like that. It's just overwriting. So over in the top right section over here, you've got a conductor icon and a metronome. In the middle of that, you've got MIDI merge. If I turn that on now, when I'm recording back around, it's not going to overwrite the existing MIDI information, except it's going to merge it and add to it. So that's what I want to do. So let's just get rid of that for a second. Recording. Sounds great. A little bit out of time. So what I need to do is make sure I have real-time properties open. So if I come over here, you can see you have an option for real-time properties. This is also where you can select how many inserts or how many sends you want as well. So I'm going to click real-time properties, and you'll see that all these icons come up just over here. Quantize, you've got transpose, velocity, etc. So if I click quantize, now going back to what I was saying, a huge MPC fan, that's where I love my energy for my drums. I've actually got the MPC style grooves in Pro Tools, so I can get that swing happening, and you know, it's just, I love that swing specifically. You've got other templates as well. I'm going to go for this one, 55% 16th swing. Keep it on there. I'm going to add to it now. And it's already quantized because I've already got the quantize button pressed over here as well. Now what I want to do is I want to add some hi-hats. So this is another way that I can actually grab samples and place them into Pro Tools and play them on a plugin as well. So if I load up Structure, which comes with Pro Tools, I'm just going to remove the original patch that's already loaded up, open up my Finder, and drag a hi-hat directly onto Structure over there. And now what this does is it allows me to play my hi-hats across the keyboard. So I'm going to close that down again, press record, and just come up with a hi-hat pattern. I'm going to quantize that as well and just make sure it's on 16th note there. Now that's been done, I really want my hi-hats to kind of pop through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solo this for a second, and I'm going to add a air enhancer. I'm going to pull up the high gain over here. Just added a little bit more highs to that as well. And to do it even more, I'm going to add EQ in there and just pull up just over here. And my favorite again is my good old filter gate. I'm going to go for more of an offbeat kind of pattern. Use my mix to blend it in. Now what I want to do is I want to make my drums pop a little bit, and this is a little technique that I learned when I was in a session once in America. Great big hip hop session. I was watching these guys do it and I was like, wow, the drums sound so cool. And all it really was just grabbing the drums, place them into a folder. So you just grab them, put them into a folder, and then choose a routing folder. You've got basic and a routing folder. If I choose routing folder, route tracks a new folder. I'm gonna call this drums. I'm just going to make sure that it's going to my Sun bus. And now all my drums that I was making there have been placed into a kind of a folder, and I can now affect the folder and it'll affect everything that's placed in that folder, which is absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to create a bus in that as well, and I'm going to call this compression. Make sure that's going to the right Sun bus there as well. And on here I'm going to place a B, F, 2, A, which is Such an easy to use compressor. I absolutely love it. Does the job and more. So yeah, I'm gonna just play with it and bring it up slowly until I feel like the energy of my drums are kicking in. Added a bit more energy to the drums, added a bit more depth. It's probably the nicest way and the quickest way to kind of make your drums pop there. So I'm going to close the folder down by pressing Shift and F. And I'm going to come down now to my subsection over here, which is my 808 section. And I'm going to load up Falcon. And I'm going to go over here and grab my G there. Place it, as I was saying, up the keyboard. You go across the whole keyboard, or you go down and it stretches across the selected keys that you're kind of stretching over. So I'm going to go over the whole keyboard here. A little bit of a high 808 going on there as well. I like that rhythm. Quantize that there. Now let's alter the 808 a little bit as well. So if I go into Falcon, I've got a release tab just over here. I'm going to pull that up. And I kind of let the sample kind of play out a little bit longer. And now, as the sample is kind of, the 808 is kind of clashing because the other one is going on top of it, I want to come over here where it says play mode and just go to mono retrigger. Now what I want to do to make it a little bit more gritty as well, is I want to add a lo-fi plugin on top of that. Pull up the distortion and the saturation. Add another EQ on top of that there. Now I'm going to come down to my plucks, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up another instance of Falcon here, and this time I'm going to look for my Trap Nation folder, trap sounds, and I can also audition sounds in here as well. I'm going to go for the pluck, load it across. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close down Falcon here. Quantize that there as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a bus in here. New track again. I'm going to call it reverb. Make sure that's going to my sun bus as well. And I'm going to add a very easy to use air reverb. Keep on 100 there. And I want to add some stereo width to that as well, just so it's a bit more wider as well. So I'm going to go for stereo, air stereo width. There's a preset called wider. It's already sounding pretty cool. So as you can see, what I'm doing now is I'm just layering and layering and layering so that I can make a very busy section, and kind of when I'm arranging and doing stuff like that, I can start chopping and moving kind of tracks around to make sure that I can arrange it into a kind of good structure for the song. So I'm going to go down to vocal chops here. I've got some sounds loaded in just like my drum kit as well, saved it. I'm going to just record enable that track there. Quantize that there as well, and now it's my vocal chops done. Just play that back. Now what I want to do is I want to get another loop from my sound library. So pull up my workspace again, sound libraries, go over samples and kits. Come down here to top no kick. I'm going to put it in. And as you can see, it's a bit out of time. So if I play that back, you'll be to hear exactly what I'm talking about. So that sounds pretty crazy, right? Definitely out of time. So I want to put that in time. And the way that I could do that is I'm going to come just at the top over here. I'm going to hold down the trim tool section, go to TCE. And then I'm going to pull out the file. And you see it stretch it out now. What I want to do now is I want to just roll off that low on there so it doesn't clash so much. Pull up my EQ. Let's go for about there. Put up the highs tiny bit. I want to add some stereo width on that as well. Go for the wider because that's my favorite preset in here. Now what I'm going to do is I want to come up with a brass hit idea as well. Again, Falcon's loaded. I can just kind of press on my keyboard. Love that sound. It's so good in this kind of music, and you'll see why. Play that, and then I've quantized that there as well. I'm just going to go up to my trim tool, just make sure it's back on standard, and just pull that out there. So I've got a whole kind of 4 bars going on there as well. So now what I'm going to do, so my inspiration behind this kind of making this track is DJ Snake. I'm a huge fan of DJ Snake because I just love that kind of music. You know, it makes me want to vibe. I can feel the energy, the positivity. It's absolutely fantastic when you hear it. I can feel how much energy as well they put into the studio when they're making music like that. And you can just imagine the vibe and how everyone in that room would be feeling at the same time when they were hearing them kind of tunes. So that's kind of what I like doing in my music as well. So I've got a plugin here called Arcade. Now Arcade is absolutely fantastic because you can play loops and ideas from Arcade and manipulate them in Arcade as well. So you've got like reverbs, delays, saturation, filters and stuff like that as well. Pretty cool. So I'm going to record something on top just to add that kind of fluty kind of element, you know, happening. I'll just quantize that there as well. So now I've started creating that track. You can see I've created some kind of sounds and layers. What I want to do now is do some simple arrangement. So if I just select everything here, so I just select kind of, you know, all the sounds that I've made to my drums as well. I'm going to duplicate that, duplicate it twice. There you go. And if I want to create kind of a section, there's such an easy way to do it in Pro Tools. What I could do is I can actually clip group. So if I hold down Option and Command and click G, it's actually clip group that together. So I can move that freely now. So if I click away, start moving it, you can see that's now clipped and it's a group together. Amazing if you want to create sections. You know, this might be my chorus or might be my verse, and I want to just copy it over later on just to make it easier for kind of if the artist is like, hey man, I want to spit some bars on top of like the chorus. Instead of individually grabbing it over, I can just group it together and drop it where he wants it, you know. And it's a great way of creating kind of different, like I said, different kind of structures or variations of the track as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slowly start building kind of some fills and some reverses and stuff like that in there as well. So I'm going to copy this top loop section here. I'm going to get rid of it from here. And now I'm going to get rid of the kick and snare here, hi-hat here. We get rid of the sub here as well. Make sure I've turned my metronome off. I'm going to keep the plucks on, keep the vox chops on, keep the brass hit on, and also keep arcade on as well. So I'm going to pull up my workspace one more time. I'm going to go to sound libraries, grab samples and kits. And as you see, I've got a folder here called fills. Bring down fill. Drop it into the timeline, bring down reverse. Drop it onto the timeline there as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure I've got it in the right spot. I'm going to turn down my fill just a tiny bit there. And this kind of be like a easy way to build, guys. If you want to build kind of drops, or you just want to have like a transition going into a drop, such an easy way to kind of do that. You just grab like a reverse crash, and it does like a kind of like a build up. Such a cool way to do stuff as well. And what I'm going to do now, just before it drops into the kind of the group section over here, is I'm going to highlight this section here. I'm going to go to Audio Suite, go down to Avid, and then go down to Verify. And this is pretty cool. This is also another technique that I use for kind of slowdowns and speed ups just before I'm about to drop or kind of go into something epic. So if I just audition this, you can see it's speeding up or slowing down, right? You can choose whichever one. So this is speed up. It's like kind of like a vinyl or something. It's so cool, and it's so easy to use as well. It's called Verify in Audio Suite. So if I click that once, click it twice. So now I've done it twice just so it's very effective as well. If I just play it back now, guys. You can already hear that now, right? So slowing down. Pretty cool way to kind of just make some cool like transitions and stuff like that. So what I want to do now is I want to open up my workspace one last time and just go down to, I've got a little bass loop going on here as well. I'm going to drop that into the timeline. As you can see straight away, it's definitely not in time. It's out of time here. So again, I'm going to go up to my trim tool, hold it down, TCE, and just stretch this out just so it's there. If I play it back from here now. I don't like that sound. So what I want to do is I want to open up Expand, which is a great, fantastic plugin, which I love. And I want to just create kind of a, I want to layer up my own sound. So I'm going to actually just send this to my Sun bus as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my my file here. I'm going to drop it down, and you'll see an audio to MIDI property windows pops up with a few algorithms. You can select universal, percussive pitched, melodic, polyphonic sustained, polyphonic decay as well. I'm going to go for automatic, click OK. And now it's actually changed that audio file, dropped it down into a MIDI file, and now I can actually alter the sound of how I want it. So if I just mute that bass loop, I'm going to open up Expand here. And now if I go to the top over here, I'm going to go for synth basses, tense takedown. And I'm going to layer. As I said, you can do up to 4 layers here as well. You can just start creating your own sounds. And you know, like with me specifically, I don't do sound design much. I've always wanted to learn. Expand really helps me to create sounds that I've got going on in my head, but I just don't know how to kind of do it properly, I guess, when it comes to exactly creating the sounds by, like if I don't have a synthesizer, this really helps me create that sound without having the need to actually know what I'm doing on a synthesizer or something. This is absolutely so powerful as well. So from this point onwards, I'm going to go down to hard leads, and I'm going to go for let's go for a square stack. I'm going to pull that down a tiny bit there, and you've got 2 effects here as well. So I'm going to press effects 1, press effects 2, and you can see knobs here you can kind of change as well. Pull down, expand there a little bit. Add some stereo width on that as well. This time I'm going to go for wider. Let's go for wider bass. Good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play it back from start to end, guys. So you see how I took a melody kind of loop and I've changed it into a beat. You know, I do a lot more stuff on top of that as well. Like I do more transitioning, probably some more vocals, do my own vocal chops. If I had an artist in the room as well, I'd get them to kind of do some cool stuff, maybe some keys on top, some key changes even. So much stuff you could do. So I'm going to play it back now. And there you have it. You've seen me take a melody loop, add some drums, add some vocal chops, add a sub, make that sub pop, and eventually turn that loop into a full track. I'm so happy and glad that I got to share my techniques with you today, and I'm looking forward to sharing more in the future too. Guys, stay safe and take care.